Hello. Hello, everyone. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that the sun is shining bright on my face because it is evening, sunset time. But today I'm recording something that I am nervous to talk about. And you'll hear why in a moment. Um, Today I'm going to share my fear and vulnerable truth like I never have before. A lot of people have asked, Ben, what are you afraid of? Like whether it's in podcasts or just social media, my clients, the people I work with in any fashion, they want to know, what does the fear guy fear? like and uh and so this is, yeah, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to take you through some things. Uh but I'm uncomfortable sharing what I'm about to share, but I feel that it's necessary because I've been hiding behind my role as a quote unquote expert, and I haven't been as vulnerable or as open as I would like to be. I know I don't owe this to anyone. I'm not doing this because like I need to be more vulnerable to connect with people or to make sales or to, like, because that's what social media influencers do. It's not that, and we'll get to that later because that's actually what has turned me off to being vulnerable, interestingly enough. Um, but I know I don't owe this to anyone. I don't feel that at all. This is coming purely from a place of wanting to dive deeper into my own truth, into my own fear, to be free from layers of fear that I have not been willing to acknowledge and say out loud up until now. So this will definitely be therapeutic, but it's still uncomfortable for me, and you'll understand why. Because I mean, you'll hear it why, but I understand you already know why, because acknowledging fear and working with fear is uncomfortable in itself. But I feel, yeah, this is, you'll hear why why this is uncomfortable for me. But as we begin, I want to thank Hallie Rose, who invited me to go deeper during a recent podcast conversation, and that is what has sparked me to really share this with you. Um, and while recording, she asked me to share something that I hadn't figured out yet. Like, it was towards the end of the episode, she asked me like all the typical, not typical questions, but things that I was, prepared for, ready for, that I've studied for, that I've experienced, that I can answer. And I was asking her questions, coaching her a bit. And then she asked me to share something. And then I did share something, and she was like, Ben, I'm going to invite you to even go beyond that. And I'm excited to share this episode with you because it was funny. She was like, Ben, I know that you have the answers. I know that it's comfortable for you to have these, quotables, or to have it figured out and to seem like the expert in this way. But she invited me to share something that I hadn't figured out yet, that wasn't maybe neatly tied up with the bow, something that I didn't have the answer for. And she lovingly nudged me two or three times to go deeper because I so naturally self coach myself through it to be just positive, to reframe it immediately. Like, that's how my brain works. And that's a good thing. Like, I'm so happy that that's a part of me. But honestly, and I'll talk about how my childhood has even influenced that. And, uh, but the interesting thing about it is sometimes I resist, or I don't feel as deeply as I would like to. For someone like me, like, I want to experience all of life. I want to feel. I want to experience the spectrum and the depth and the rapture, the deliciousness, just, that the richness of life. I don't want to just be surface level and avoid and not feel and hide. That's not who I want to be. And so she had to ask me two or three times to go deeper. And I'm so happy that she did, um, because it allowed me to go into this exposed place that I have been subconsciously, and a bit consciously resisting. And I want to also thank Belle, my partner, my love. Oh, getting a bit emotional, but who has made it almost impossible to hide. because she's conscious. It's a conscious relationship, the most complementary, the most aware, vulnerable, compassionate, communicative, all the things that I've wanted. And you'll find out more about us and her later in an episode. I'm not sure when, but it'll happen. Of it's funny just how when you you think you want this relationship of, open communication, honesty, truth, sharing, reflecting, giving honest feedback, sharing your truth when it's uncomfortable. And it's beautiful. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I can't imagine not having it any other way. But I have felt exposed and raw because she is so conscious, self-aware, and insanely intuitive. And my fear has tried to protect me by wanting to shut down or not feeling emotions, not fully expressing and filtering my truth. And she and our container has allowed me to access a lot of what I didn't expect to, which I'm so grateful for. And yeah, Belle, I love you. I'm so grateful for you. Our experience that we continue to explore and create in the highest form of create in the highest expression that we can. And it makes me nervous even in that setting while I'm here on this topic, because it's I still feel have fears in that. I'm not an expert in relationships. I'm an expert on myself as well as I could be. I can be alone all day. I can be alone, I can meditate, I can travel by myself, I can work on myself. But when it involves someone else, I'm you get exposed in a whole another way, and you can't hide. And that's the scary thing about it, why I think people subconsciously resist it. And I have experienced how my own fears try to protect me, and looking at even how men I can understand, not just men, but being a man myself, how these relationships can influence or cause us to shut down. But I wouldn't have it any other way, because it's so amazing and expansive and beautiful and just full of growth. And you'll hear more about that later. But the fear I'm going to share with you today came up during my recent course launch. So I have a course out, Fear Alchemy, for coaches, creators, healers, anyone with feeling fear, with sharing their message, unlocking their gifts, sharing their gifts, and teaching and guiding and showing up in their power, all the different things. Anyway, while you're not sharing and expressing your gifts, your power, your voice with unwavering confidence, that's what it's about. And the summary of it all is that on pre-launch day, it didn't go as I had hoped. I had prepared for weeks for it, and I mean weeks. I planned, I had all these cool ideas. I got the wait list ready. I got lots of people on the wait list. I was pumped. I was like, what? I hit my goal, almost my goal with how many people were on the wait list. I got people on a text, so I could send them texts, which I had never done, which I was excited for. I wrote emails. I wrote the best posts that I think I've ever written. And they weren't forced, but they were just inspired, and they correlated or directly correlated to the course. I got the sales page way done in advance, ahead of time, all the language, and most importantly, I had worked on my frequency with this more than I ever have. Usually, I have used so much just, I guess this is what I do with a course, or this is, with projects, not with courses in particular. I haven't done that many. This is my third or fourth one, and I haven't launched all of them. But I guess my intentions and my why behind it was more clear than ever before. I was getting into the frequency every single day. I was journaling, I was meditating, I was even just visualizing, just getting centered, focused to prepare for this. So you could feel it so much more than just words, right? I was meticulously encoding the sales page or my messages, my energy, what I didn't even say. So you could just feel it. You could feel the love. You could feel the power and the truth in everything I did. Like my offerings are speaking for themselves. Yeah, I did this so you could feel it and know it for you. Like, yeah, the words are important and to get clear and direct, but I wanted you just to have my alignment and my energy in sync more than ever before. And it was and it is. And I was so stoked. I was like, man, I just feel different. I'm ready. I'm excited. This is so cool. And I spent pre-launch day, I guess it was like a soft launch day because it was just for the wait list. And so waitlist launch day Friday, Sunday was, everything was going public. And I even had this idea in my mind, and I'm going to be more honest. Like I am honest, but can just fully expressed than I ever have. And you'll hear, like, I do have some fear with fully expressing that, and you'll hear why in a second. But so I forgot what I was going to express. But so like I spent the day having fun. Like I wanted to do something differently. Like with the other courses, I was anxiously checking if anyone had signed up. It was kind of like the hustle and force and convince method, even though that didn't feel right. And I kind of tried to do it differently. This, I feel completely differently. And I wanted this container to feel different and be different. And I wanted myself to have this be easy and fun. And so I spent that day just, having fun, eating good food, my favorite food. I, go swimming, laying in the sun, having fun with Belle. I even prepared my energy and mantras. Like when I got home from that fun day, I like meditated and I prepared my energy. I was saying my mantra, which was, I know my power before and after the result. And then once I looked at the results, I was like surprised and like bummed. It was an interesting, I was just like surprised. I was like, what? I was like, no one, I mean, like on this day, so on this day specifically, like someone signed up before this day, but specifically for this launch day, as you can probably tell, this is uncomfortable for me to say, and this is just an exercise for me with sharing my truth. So thanks for being here and being patient. But no one signed up, and I was like, damn. And for me, it was just like, I was seriously surprised. I had a goal, guys, of, man, I know this, I'm going to fill this up. If not in the first 2 days with the wait list, I'm going to fill it up soon. Like, just because like I feel so good about it. And this thing is so good. Like it's right on point. People need it. So many people I can feel and see that I've spoken to and worked with, and DMs, comments, the energy, the feels, all the things. And so I prepared myself, I was in this like good place. And then once I wasn't too bummed right away, but so I went into meditation to activate my trust and get into a place of surrender, and know that there's so much happening that I couldn't see. And I still know that. I know that there's so much that like, guys, I've had too much evidence in my life to where things aren't going my way with my ego. Doesn't want, like, it's like I can't see the proof right away or in this way, but there's so many things that I'm happy didn't go my way, but it's still like, being a human, it gets frustrating and annoying when things don't go my way. And because it's like, man, like I thought this was so different. I thought this was like, I was operating so purely and powerfully, and working with fear, and talking about fear, this is medicine for me. Like everything I do is medicine for me. And I've done work before this. I know everything has perfectly prepared me for this. The work that I've personally done, the work that I've done with clients and groups and retreats and podcasts, all the things, studies, Like everything I've done has prepared me for this moment. But even the thing itself is medicine. And I know that's the same for everyone with whatever you're dealing with. Money is medicine. Relationships are medicine. Your job is medicine. Like all just feedback in general, like life, how someone responds to you is medicine. How like getting angry in traffic is feedback and medicine. Like everything is. Um, So I wasn't initially too bummed, but then after 2.5 days of no more sales, I started to get more annoyed and I started to worry that only one person would be signed up. And I did all this work and like it was a weird, like I was annoyed. And, I tried my best to trust it and to enjoy the process, but my ego was still struggling with surrendering. And I was in this place of like, I kept wanting to figure out in my brain what more I could do. Like I was heavily in my brain, trying to figure out, okay, like what more can I do? Like what can I say? What can I post? Like these types of things. And the ironic thing, like what I journaled on launch day, I don't have my journal with me, but what I said was I've done all that I can do and now it's like out of my hands. Like I'm letting go of the wheel and I just trust that it's happening exactly how it's supposed to, and I'm just surrendering because I truly have given my best and I know that I have. And I guess that's part of the thing that was frustrating for me is like, dang, is my best not good enough? I was like, have I reached my limit? That was part of a doubt that creeped in my brain of, yeah, that hits home. I have some notes later of things, but I just realized that speaking to you now is my best not good enough? That's pretty heavy. Is my best not good enough? Oof. Yeah, that's a deep one. That hits. Because of course my logical brain knows the answer to that and I can self-coach myself out of it. And that's when the podcast with Hallie that I mentioned earlier was like divine timing. Because I can self-coach myself out of anything. Like I know the answers, I can get there, but that doesn't mean it's still like I still don't like bounce back and forth between it. And I was in a space to be exposed in that conversation with Hallie in the best way, in a loving, accepting, but no bullshit way. Like what I learned from that impromptu healing session and that conversation that we had a conversation after the podcast and in the podcast, is the fear that I learned is that I have a fear of not looking like an expert, or I have a fear of not looking like I don't know what I'm doing. It's not a fear of failure per se. It's actually the fact of being in the limbo is like excruciating to me. Like in this window of did it work? Did it not work? Did I do it right? Did I do it wrong? And I like to know what something is so I can categorize it in my brain. Like I'm good at compartmentalizing, and so I can categorize it in my brain. And so whether it's success, whether it's a failure, whether it's somewhere in between, whatever it is, then I can move on. So surrendering to the unknown and being in the present moment has been challenging because, like, yes, logically and even in my heart, like I do know that it's happening for me. Like I know that. I trust it. I really do. But I was still in my head. The ego did not like what was happening. And in that conversation with Hallie, which I'm excited for you to hear, she gave me feedback of, being more in my heart. And in the healing session we did, it was really cool because there was some things happening in my heart. And that is like my superpower. One of my superpowers is like, I do love. Like I am sensitive. I am sweet. I am soft. Like I love so much. And I get that a lot that people, see me. And that's why a lot of people feel safe around me. And I'm able to do what I do with coaching and other things because people feel that love and they feel safe. But it's almost like I keep it somewhat closed because it's almost like I'm afraid of that power. I am afraid of, I'll say it for now that I'm afraid of it, but we're going to work through it together so you guys can see how I do this. Not as much, like I've already stepped into it and released a lot of So this is still fresh. I mean, within a few days of when I'm sharing this, but I work pretty quickly. Like my activations, my leveling up, my rememberings, my codes and downloads, like I move pretty quick, fortunately. Um, but yeah, that's an interesting fear to like reflect on. And so I forgot where I was, but anyway, so with Hallie, um, what was happening within the heart is, yeah, that fear of like my power. And I had a healing session last week, past life regression healing session, and that came up too, of like I have a fear of being viewed as like the bad king, which means like I know I'm a good king, but the best or the great kings know that are willing to be misunderstood. And that even has to go in with like my heart, of it's like my heart just wants to like explode and unleash like a wildfire. And that doesn't mean it's going to burn something down, but it's almost like that power of like, oh my gosh, like what is this going to do? um and like I feel that, and it's still releasing, it's still evolving, and I'm okay saying that. But it's taken me a lot of practice, and Bella has helped me with this, practicing just saying my emotions. Like that's something that I haven't been amazing at, just because of my childhood. I wanted to be Mr. Positive all the time, with my mom, and when we struggled with finances, and she had like 5 kids to take care of, being a single mom, and I wanted to make life easier on her. So I wanted to be positive. I didn't want to be a nuisance. I didn't want to be um, a hassle in any way. And being Mr. Positive, being smart, being driven, being loving and sweet, being well obeyed was praised when I was a kid. Like it was celebrated. And so what has led to that now, going back to the fear of not being looking like an expert, or the fear of um, not looking like I have it figured out, it directly ties into this, because also as a kid I was told that I'm special, and like I know I am, and I believe everyone is. It's obviously not every kid is told that by multiple people, from teachers, from church leaders, to friends' parents, to my parents, grandparents, like multiple adults. And so I believed it. And so what has happened now in my adulthood, like if I'm anything but special, if I'm anything but miraculous, then I feel not good enough. And this kind of goes with perfectionism. I don't completely identify with the word perfectionism, because I know like I'm not trying to be perfect, but it's like if I'm not amazing, like if I'm not the best, if I'm second rate, if I don't win, kind of not necessarily in sports, but what resonates the most with me, like if I'm not, yeah, the word special just kind of comes into that, right? Like, um, yeah, like not, if I'm not a special, I guess it confirms like if this isn't successful or doesn't go the way that I think it will, then I'm not as special as I think I am. I'm not as smart as I think I am. I'm not as successful as I think I am. I'm not as cool as I want to look, or and I want to look like I have it figured out. I want to look like an expert. So if it doesn't go that way, then that must mean that I am not special, or that I'm not an expert, and that I don't know what I'm doing. And so yeah, and that directly ties into not being good enough too. And hopefully you can hear I'm just like talking, like I do have some notes written down, but I'm just talking this out as we go. So, um, yeah, it's a persona. I have this persona of wanting to know it all. Um, I want to be all knowing, and I want to have it together all the time, because that's what I had to do as a kid, and I got praised for it. I got celebrated for it, and it's paid off for me. Like all the promotions I've got, all the cool things I've done in my life is because of that. And it's interesting, right? Because as a kid, you get either, that you get the stick or the carrot, meaning how, I mean, I'm not sure about parenting nowadays. I mean, it's still probably, I mean, there's a lot of conscious parenting happening, but I imagine the majority of the world is still um, using, like, you punish kids, right? You either punish them or you celebrate them. You tell them good job. Um, Probably often too much. It's punishing, and that's another thing where probably I imagine most people are in, is just trying to. That's why they have a lot of fears, trying to avoid those things, and they're trying to receive love. But for me, it was actually, I fear not getting the recognition. I fear not being the best. I fear not being special, and that has now become punishment to me. So it's not like, hey, you did a bad job, you're punished. It's, if I'm not succeeding or if I'm not special, then that's the punishment to me, just like with myself, which is interesting. Um, so, and that had to do with, in the podcast with Hallie, um, she reflected to me that, Ben, you are comfortable in the space of being the expert. You are comfortable, holding space and giving advice. And Belle has told me that before. It's like, Ben, you're so good at holding space that it's annoying. And I love that. Like, that's such good. Like, I love getting that recognition. But what's more challenging for me and my opportunity is to, like, ask for help, or like admit when I don't have it figured out, or feel the sad feelings, or feel angry. And I now know that just because I feel sadness doesn't make me a sad person, and feeling angry doesn't make me an angry person. I can experience the full range of emotions, and being in the relationship with Belle has helped me so much. Just like practice, just saying like I'm feeling this. Like, that doesn't make me, I am that thing, but just practicing, like, it's so funny and so simple, but that's one thing that has just been helpful, is just like, there's no need to do anything about it. Just by simply acknowledging and stating what emotions are that my human body is experiencing, just stating those to someone who's willing to hear that, and just be compassionate and loving and hold that space, has been helpful for me. Because it's like I didn't feel like I could feel anything but positive. I didn't feel like I could be anything but amazing. And so that has motivated me a lot, right? Like, that is why I wanted to be the best. That's, why some people like myself have a fear of like some people, like, everyone's fears are different, and it's okay, right? Like, the root of them basically is like, you're not good enough, or that you're not lovable for almost every single person. They could be nuanced, but that's almost always the root of everything if you go deep enough. But yeah, it's like my lack or unwillingness to feel the spectrum, because I think that it would make me less than, not weak, but just not celebrated, or not having it all figured out. And so that's definitely the trend. And so what I want to do is, I haven't done this yet. I've saved this for this podcast episode of my Fear Alchemy reframing steps. I want to do this live, which I've never done this before. So I've never done this, like, usually, again, I'm the one helping, I'm the one inspiring, I'm the one leading. And so it's, less comfortable for me to be the one that needs the help, or needs, who doesn't have it figured out. And like, in truly owning that. But before we get to that, I want to share something else that I figured out is, I've actually had resistance. So back in the day when I started social media stuff, I was being vulnerable, but it was usually because of, like, not just because of a strategy. Like, it's well known that it's like, oh, people connect with vulnerability and openness. And so I was like, okay, like, of course I want to, be successful and get more followers and all the things. So I started being more vulnerable, and it was still coming from a good place, but I think it was a bit forced. And once I figured that out, and I started to see how manipulative people were and how inauthentic people were, it actually turned me off. And and that's why I've had a resistance to being vulnerable out of fear of manipulating you. Because I've seen it with the online world, coaches, marketing. A lot of it is just fear based, and possibly even experiences as a kid where emotions and vulnerability can manipulate you into doing something. And I didn't want to do that. So out of my fear of being out of integrity, I guess I've started to hold back and hide a little bit. I've definitely, I mean, this isn't mutually exclusive. Like, I've definitely stepped into my power a lot, and I know you can see that. I know you can feel that depending how long you've been around. I've definitely like evolved like a mofo, like crazy. This is just one micro thing compared to the macro. But that's just an interesting share because, and you guys might relate to that potentially. Maybe not. But I just thought that was interesting that like I had an aversion to being vulnerable or even marketing, and advertising, because I was like, I don't want to do that because I guess it's sleazy. And I used to think that about sales, but then I, had to do sales with clients and I got over that. But then I saw how when I was doing that was also not pure in the way and authentic in the way that I want to do it. And so I stepped away from doing sales in that way. That doesn't mean sales or marketing is bad. And I had the recent enlightenment, reflection learning that I really like is that, let me go to this note in my computer. So what I wrote is, how can people know if I'm not clear? Like, not all marketing is fear-based and manipulative. Like, marketing and copywriting, advertising can bring out more of me, and I can be even more clear and direct, share more of my story and heart. And I wrote the question, what does authentic sharing look like? And I think that's the key for me, and maybe some of you. And I know if you're here, you relate to me, right? And because we are so heart-centered, and that's, partially why I am doing this course, is because there are so many heart-centered people who are afraid of their power because it's icky or it feels wrong, or they don't want to offend people, or they want to be nice. They're worried about disappointing important people in their lives. There's so many interesting intricacies of being a nice person. And that's why I feel so called, is because we need you. Like, we need more people like us, more than, I don't know if I want to say more than the other people, but we need more of our voices because we are those, I'll say pure, like that's what's coming to my mind, like pure voices who are heart-centered, who are in their heart and in their soul and want to do good, not just for money, not just to be successful. Like, yes, we want those things because those are awesome tools and we deserve those too. But like, we do it because, man, we really want to inspire people. We love what we do. We want to be fulfilled. We want to live on purpose. We want to be aligned. We want to share love and wisdom out of kindness and just love, not to manipulate, control, or use people. And so what I've learned, and this is a very new realization, which I'm excited about, is actually, how can marketing make me even more clear on my message? How can it bring more me out? Because maybe I'm not sharing something that'd be really cool to share that could help someone, not to change my message, not to alter it or to try and influence people, but how can I get even just more clear, more direct, with my story and with my heart, and share authentically in that way. So I thought that was a cool reframe with marketing, advertising, or even sales in that way too. So I thought that was cool. All right. Now let's do this reframe. So this is, if you've been on, I've done this on podcasts uh, with certain people that I've posted on the show, previous episodes. I do this with clients. I do this in retreats. I've done this in some online events before. So you might have heard this, but if you haven't, this is, these are the simple steps that I have found to be just incredibly useful and just so simple yet so profound, and that they're practical tools that you can use every day. And so if you're here listening, you can take these questions and apply them into your life. And this is, what working with me looks like. This is what the course is going to look like. But I don't believe that you need me. Yes, I know I'm powerful. Yes, I know I ask questions in a new, powerful way that most people don't see it or hear it or observe it. But you can do this too. And I want you to believe in your power, that you don't need to be fixed, and you already have the tools and truth inside of you. And that's really what we're doing, and I'm doing through these sessions, through these breakthroughs, through these steps. So let me take you through me. And this is actually really fun for me to do. So step one, so get out your notepads so you can write these down, or just vibe with it. But feel free to write this down. So number one is identify your belief. And so it might take some, asking questions and teasing out and asking why, and some things to get to the root belief. But we already know the root belief because I've already shared it. So the root belief is that if this isn't successful, then I'm not special, right? Then I'm not important, basically. That's really what that means, right? Then if this isn't a huge success, and that's real for me, just, it might be different for you, but I have such an expectation. If it's not a huge success, if it's not big, if it's not extravagant in this way, then it means I'm not as special. I'm not important. I'm not cool, or I'm not an expert, which really what that means is just I'm not good enough. If it doesn't happen in this way, then I'm not good enough, and it feels like a punishment. So my belief with this is that, okay, I gave you the nuanced version of it, but the simple version of it is I'm not good enough. If I don't sign up this many people, if this doesn't fill up, then that means I'm not good enough, right? So the next step two is this true? And we can only answer yes or no. Is this true? Well, I know that's not true. One, because I've been doing this for a long time, right? So I know the logical steps. But if you are taking yourself through something similar right now, through a fear or limiting belief, I want you to answer not just logically, but can you really feel it? Do you know it? Because what we're doing in this setting is we're knowing it logically, and then we're feeling it, and then we're bringing it into our body. It's really important that we do all of the things, is because sometimes you can logically know the thing, but then you really got to feel it. But then sometimes it's you might feel it, but we're missing the logical piece. So it's really important to bring everything in. So is this true? You can only answer yes or no. So for me, I know no, that's absolutely not true. I know that if this one thing doesn't work the way that I think it's going to, no, I know that that's the opposite. I know, yeah. I truly know in my being fully that it is not true. Let's go to step number three. Step number three is, does this thought/feeling or belief benefit me? So does this belief of, if I'm not a crazy success and it looks this exact way, and I'm not good enough and I'm not special, does that benefit me? Yes or no? Only answer yes or no. No, that does not benefit me. right? Because it actually hinders me and does the opposite of what I want it to do. It disempowers me. It makes me less effective to the people that I want to be of service to. So step number 4 is, what's another possibility? What's another way to look at this belief or this scenario? So I know like another possibility is that it's happening perfectly, and there's a crazy universal source, God designed plan that my limited human brain cannot conceive, and it's happening so much better that I could plan for, so much better that I could even imagine. So I know like that's another possibility, and I know that could be happening. Step number 5 is, what do I want to believe? Ooh, this is good. I actually have to really think about this one. So what do I want to believe? I want to believe, kind of like what my mantra said. My mantra was, I know my power and I know my worth before and after any result. But I want to know that I'm good enough, and you'll hear this in the podcast with Hallie, but I know that I'm good enough. Like, I know that I'm special and infinitely, just massively loved through and through, no matter what happens, no matter what I do or don't do or say or be, is that I am loved and I am enough. That's what hits home for me. That's what feels good to me, is that I am truly loved. Yeah. And that I am enough. But the loved piece is resonating more right now. And so now the last step is that we replace the new thought, the new belief with the old one, right? So the old one was, if I'm not successful in this grand way, if it doesn't happen perfectly, then I am not good enough. I'm not special. Now I replace that with, I am loved. Like, I am infinitely loved regardless of the result. So whatever you've done, or if you're just listening to me or you're doing the thing, listen and feel how different that feels compared to the first one. The first one is like heavy and just sickening. And no wonder, right? Like, how our brain works is we're thinking in these absolutes. And a lot of people don't realize, like, when you have that thought of any point in your life, it's a trigger to your emotion, and it's a trigger to your belief system. So that's when you feel stress, when you feel anxiety, when you feel panic, when you feel fear, there's so much more happening underneath and in your subconscious than you realize. And in your programming, in your conditioning, like, even for me, what I've just said of, when I have this belief of like, oh, this is annoying and frustrating, it's pinging a belief and it's confirming that, like, oh, Ben, like, you're not good enough. You're not loved. You're not special. You don't know what you're doing. And even though I'm not consciously thinking that, that's what's being signaled, and it just confirms that belief over and over. And so when you reframe and you break it down and you take the time to look at it with this new perspective of, your brain thinks in the absolute because that's just how it operates. So when you ask it in a black or white binary fashion like this, like we just did, you can see, oh, that's not true. No, that doesn't benefit me. What's another possibility? What do I want to believe? Oh, this is really the truth. Like, I know this is the truth, and that's what I want to believe. And I know that this is the belief. I know this is true for me. I know that this is my truth, but even sometimes I forget, and I need to remind myself that I am crazy loved, and everything is happening perfectly by design, beyond what I could imagine or plan for. So that is what I want to believe, and that feels much more empowering, much more at ease. And I also want to believe that, like, I trust, like I am in deep surrender, and I trust, like a mofo, like, I trust you, God. I trust you, universe. I trust myself. I trust life. I trust everything to happen in my benefit, to learn from, to experience. I trust. I trust. Period. That's also what I want to believe. So I hope this has been beneficial for you. And even this was beneficial for me. And I appreciate you being here in all the ways, because even by you just listening, you are holding space for me. Even though you're listening to this later and recorded, you guys were all energetically holding space for me in a way that I've never done before. So I appreciate you all for coming back, listening to this, supporting me in this way. And if you feel the call to join the course, the link will be in the description. It'll be in the show notes. If you are a coach, if you are a creator, and if you resonate with any of what I've talked about, and you want to, really figure out those beliefs, figure out those fears, and you're ready for that. I know not everyone's ready, but I know that you are ready and you're more ready than you think you are. And, you're never going to be fully ready. You're going to have to take that risk eventually. Even if it's something like me, right? Of like the risk of people not signing up. Like you can see, like I'm still doing that, right? Like no matter how many cool people I talk to and help, there's always something in there, right? And it's not to fear. It's like I can see, right? Like this is medicine. Like I gotta walk the walk. And I'm always expanding and learning more about myself and my own beliefs and my own subconscious and my soul. And I'm always remembering more and more, which I'm grateful for. And I can't imagine not taking the risk, I can't imagine not living my dreams. I can't imagine not living my truth, not living my highest self, my highest purpose, being aligned with that. Like, not taking a risk is a guarantee of disappointing outcomes. So again, you're never going to be fully ready. You got to take that risk into the outcome, into the unknown where you can't predict the outcome. And I would start thinking about if you're on the edge of it, and like if you're like, Ben, this course, I know this is for me, and I'm not sure, like whatever fear you have. I mean, there's money, there's readiness, like whatever it is, it's fear. Because like some of you listening, yes, it's not for you, but some of you listening, it's for you, but you're not doing it because of fear, which is okay. That's kind of the point, right? It's like, that's why we're here, is to feel the fear and do it anyway. That's why we're in this beautiful space together. So go to the page, go feel into it. I have some questions on the sales page to ask yourself so you can tune into your intuition. But eventually you're going to have your faith, your trust and belief is going to have to be greater than your fear. And it's so worth it, I promise you. So I encourage you to invest in yourself. You are worth it. I love you. I believe in you. It's going to be a magical experience with some amazing people, and I can't wait to see you. All right, y'all. I think that's it. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're watching this, let me know if you made it this far on YouTube. And on audio, I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, leave a review if I would, or send me a message on Instagram or something about if you resonate with this episode. I would love to hear from you. Not that you need to, but just so I can get some feedback for myself. So leave a review. That helps the show get seen and by other people who are in a similar place as you. Like, it really does help the algorithm. Or share it with a friend. Share it on Instagram. There's a link in the description to leave a donation, like if you feel called to support in that way, if to support and to encourage the show in a monetary fashion. There's so many different ways to support it. Like, there's no one way. So whatever you feel called, whatever you feel inspired to do, I'm grateful for you, and do the way that is aligned for you and you feel good about. And I appreciate you for being here. For real, I can't wait to see you or talk to you or work with you. And even if I never do, just know that I love you and you're amazing. All right, y'all. Until next time, see you soon.